Ma nishtana halayla hazeh mikol halelot. Mikol halelot. Everyone knows the four questions. It's one of the staples of the Passover Seder. And there are actually various ways to interpret the four questions. There's the obvious plain text. Why is this night different? We eat matzah. Why do we eat matzah? Why do we eat the maror, the bitter herbs? Why do we lean? Why do we dip? However, there are a few ways to interpret it that are much deeper. And I want to share two of those ways with you now. One is from the Rebbe Rashab, the fifth Lubavitcher Rebbe, who explained it with regards to the exile, this current exile as it relates to the previous exiles. And he explains like this: how is this night, meaning this present final exile, different than all the other nights, than the earlier exiles? One, on the other nights, we do not dip, expressing scouring, cleansing, purifying, like dipping in a mikvah, in a ritual bath. We don't even dip once, meaning that the cleansing was not accomplished in the earlier exiles, for they were followed by yet another exile. But tonight, we dip twice. This final exile will bring about the scouring of the body and the revelation of the soul. 2. On all other nights, we eat chametz or matzah, leavened products or matzah. Following each of the earlier exiles, our service of God was involved with our godly soul, indicated by matzah, which is a metaphor for self-nullification, and also our animal soul, our base self, which is indicated by chametz, leaven, which is a metaphor for ego, because it rises and it puffs up and elevates itself. But this night, following this final exile, we eat only matzah, because the spirit of impurity of that animal-based self will be abolished. 3. On all other nights, we eat various greens. The face of a jealous person turns green, so to speak. Right? I'm green with envy. So during the earlier exiles, there were various forms of envy. For example, the competitive envy among Torah scholars. But on this night, after the final exile, only moror, only the bitter herbs, the bitter greens, the most intense sort of envy, similar to a statement in the Talmud that in the world to come, every tzaddik, every righteous person, will be scorched by the canopy of his fellow. And 4, on all other nights, we eat either sitting or reclining. Eating indicates a spiritual delight, ta'anug, pleasure, in the revelations that ensue from exile. There is the extension or manifest ta'anug, pleasure, and there's even a higher essence of ta'anug. Some, through their service of God, attain the extension of pleasure, while others attain the actual essence itself. But tonight, we all recline. After this final exile, all of Israel will attain the quintessential ta'anug, pleasure in God. And I want to briefly share one more interpretation of the four questions. And this I heard around, I don't know where it comes from, but I thought it was a beautiful idea. Right? Why is this night different? Right? So we actually have 4 answers. 1, this night is different because we eat matzah. Matzah represents the bittul, the self-nullification, the humility, like I said earlier. And that allows us, when we have those in a proper capacity, it allows us to grow as Jews and as human beings. 2, we eat bitter herbs. Bitter herbs is this idea of a sort of disappointment in ourselves. Not shame or excessive guilt, but just recognizing our own failings so we can actually grow from them. 3, we dip the karpas, the parsley or whatever, in the salt water, and we also dip the maror into the charoset, the bitter herbs into the sweet paste. And what's dipping? That's immersion. We're immersing ourselves. When you're completely immersed in the experience, in the Passover experience, in the redemption experience, then you can really break free of exile. And finally, we recline on this night. When you're reclining, it's as if you're very important. You're like a king or a queen. So this is the idea of realizing our real inner power and inner potential, that we are like kings and queens. And that will allow us again to grow and break free of our personal exile. So I hope that helps you appreciate the Seder, and God willing, next week I'll have something for the end of Passover as well. Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach.